Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching News 9 Live. You're watching this show live from our studio in the National Capital Region. And today I'm wearing a suit tailor-made for me by Paul Moll. Let's go straight into the news of the hour. In today's update, the crackdown on Khalistani terror continues with the NIA conducting a significant 50-site operation to unveil the links between Khalistan and gangsters. This operation spanned across 30 sites in Punjab, 13 in Rajasthan, 4 in Haryana, 2 in Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh, one in Delhi as well, are aimed to apprehend Hawala operatives and logistics supervisors associated with Khalistani links. Meanwhile, intelligence sources have shed light on clear connections between Pakistan's inter-services intelligence, the ISI, and pro-Khalistani separatist organizations in Canada, the United Kingdom, the US and Australia, all working together to promote anti-India sentiments. These developments coincide with a surge in discussions on social media, particularly with the Indian origin Sikh community in Canada, revolving around the Khalistan issue. The discussions have taken a concerning turn, featuring protests, threats against Indian diaspora members, and discussions aimed at destabilizing India. Prominent figures like Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and SFJ chief Pannu have become central figures in these discussions on the internet as well. Allegations of substantial funding by Pakistan's ISI for Khalistani separatists in various countries have emerged, with claims of millions of dollars being utilized for the Khalistan propaganda. ISI's alleged manipulation of Sikh students in Canada through tactics like fear exploitation and inciting hatred has further fueled concerns. Additionally, pro-Khalistani leader Pannu has faced criticism for employing divisive tactics and promoting the Khalistan movement, leading to divisions within the Sikh communities inside Canada. These developments also intersect with the foreign policy discussions, where our own External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, speaking in New York at the Conference for Foreign Policy, highlighted the permissive environment for secessionist activity in Canada and how it is turning into a case of the West weaponizing human rights and supporting its own interests. Again, we're going to expand the discussion. Joining me here on the broadcast in the studio is my colleague and our editor on strategic affairs, Aditya Raj Kaul. Also with us on the broadcast soon are going to be R.P. Singh, national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. We're also going to be joined by Ambassador S.D. Muni, former Indian diplomat, and Rabinder Sachdev, foreign affairs expert. Always a pleasure to be joined by you. Gentlemen, do stay on with us. I'm going to quickly, play out that reaction of our External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, what he had to say at that particular conference on foreign policy, where he essentially highlighted 3 points. Those 3 points, I'll come back to that. Let's first listen in to what Dr. S. Jaishankar had to say.
I'll share with you very, very frankly what we told the Canadians. One, we told the Canadians that this is not the government of India's policy. 2, we told the Canadians saying that, look, if you have something specific, if you have something relevant, let us know. We are open to looking at it. So, but to understand the context of it, in a way, because the picture is not complete without the context in a way, you also have to appreciate, Ken, that in the last few years, Canada actually has seen a lot of organized crime, relating to, the secessionist forces, organized crime, violence, extremism. They're all very, very deeply mixed up. So, in fact, we have been, talking about specifics and information. We have actually been badgering the Canadians. We have given them a lot of information about organized crime leadership, which operates out of Canada. There are a large number of extradition requests. There are terrorist leaders who have been identified. So do understand that there is an environment out there. So that is important in a way to factor in. If you have to understand what is going on out there. And our concern is that, it's really been very permissive because of political reasons. So we have a situation where actually our diplomats are threatened. our consulates have been attacked, and often comments are made about there's interference in our politics, and a lot of this is often justified as saying, well, that's how democracies work.
Well, all right, let's get the ball rolling here. Aditya, what did you make of the External Affairs Minister's reaction over there? Three important parts. He says it's not part of our state policy to go behind separatists. If there is in fact details on Nijjar's killing, how about you share it with us and we take a due course of action? And the operative part here, very permissive when it comes to secessionist. Canada has been a safe haven for funneling soft terrorism.
Well, Kabir, one thing is for sure, that India is not going to take it lying down. India is not going to look the other way. India's policy is very clear. India has clarity, and India has independent positions on several issues. And one thing to begin with, that India has been a victim of terrorism for over decades now, not just in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab, but across the country. And this has mostly been Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. And at no point in the last 3 to 4 decades will you see that India's intelligence agencies, security forces, or any kind of mercenaries have indulged in such extrajudicial killings. This is in the DNA of United States. This is in the DNA of the Western powers who actually intrude into Afghanistan, who actually intrude into Iraq, who actually kill Osama bin Laden inside Abbottabad in Pakistan, and then of course say this was a global fight against terrorism. They also go to the extent of doing a drone strike against Soleimani in Iran, and then say that this was essential for global peace and this had to be done because terrorism was emanating from Iran. Now, if it is the international rules-based order that you often quote and talk about, was the killing of Osama bin Laden and Soleimani violating the sovereignty of these two countries, intruding into Afghanistan and Iraq, also international rules-based order? And if that is so, and I'm not suggesting that India was anyway involved in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, but if this is the international rule-based order, why cannot India also defend its territorial integrity and sovereignty? That is the first and basic point. But Jaishankar is very clear in his approach that Canada at no point of time has shared even a shred of evidence. If you go by the multiple statements that have come in from the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over the last 1 week, he continuously says that there are credible allegations, there are substantial allegations that have been given to India and shared with India. Allegations don't mean anything. Anybody, any Tom, Dick and Harry can make out any allegations to suit their agenda or narrative or propaganda, but that is not a definitive proof. Now, repeatedly, privately, they have been planting stories in the West, in the US, in Canada and elsewhere, suggesting that Five Eyes intelligence had shared this intelligence. Right. Firstly, that intelligence has not been made public. Secondly, US, UK, Australia and Japan all have privately and publicly said that we are concerned, but we will not condemn India and we will not interfere in a bilateral kind of a standoff between India and Canada. So it was Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau who interfered, provoked and escalated the diplomatic situation with India. And it is now prudent for him, it is completely, the ball is in his court to actually mend the ways, provide a bridge and find some kind of a solution, because if they don't, then this will lead to further crisis, because Khalistani terrorists, it's a fact, have found safe haven and a safe sanctuary in Canada. There is definitive proof. And Kabir, I'll end this by saying that in the last decade, 26 dossiers of designated terrorists of Khalistan and gangsters have been shared with Canada and the RCMP. But no action whatsoever has been taken. Are these domestic political compulsions of Justin Trudeau? Or is West, or particularly Canada, now becoming the new Pakistan? This is the reality. There is no Khalistan in Indian Punjab. There is whatsoever no Khalistani propaganda or any groups surviving there. But Canada is now becoming the new Khalistan. Canada is now becoming a sanctuary for organized crime, for gangsters and designated Khalistani terrorists to live safely without any fear of law, any fear of international rules-based order, or any fear of democracies actually going against terrorism.
All right. Ambassador Muni, I'd like to bring you in now. Not just the External Affairs Minister's comments at the Conference for National Policy in New York, but his address at the UNGA as well. He said that, in territorial integrity and interfering in other people's internal matters isn't an exercise that can be cherry-picked. Political convenience can't be exercised when you're tackling terrorism. Hasn't Jaishankar hit the nail on the head?
Well, I think I must compliment Jaishankar for making the statement he has made. I can tell you that I know Jaishankar since his JNU days. We are all very proud of what he is doing. But here also, I would like him to know that he has pulled his punches. Whatever he has said in the United Nations and he has said outside are indirect references. I think the US involvement, as Mr. Kaul mentioned, is absolutely critical in the whole game. They are the one who have always, even Trudeau admitted that the first information has come from the US intelligence, and that before making his own statement, he had consulted President Biden. Then President Biden's Security Council National Security Advisor came out with far more things, that we have said this to India and we have said that to India. On the one hand. On the other hand, Jaishankar is saying we have no information. Why should we not directly tell America that you are supporting, you are claiming this, we have no information? And how, on what basis you have brought in this kind of an intelligence? The CIA and ISI are old chums. They have worked together for a very, very long time in Afghanistan. And even in case of Pakistan, we have been saying it for last 3-4 decades that, look, Pakistan is feeding the terrorists. We have been requesting the US. US never accepted that Pakistan was the hub of the terrorists. And here again, if this is happening in Canada, the US would never accept Canada as a hub of terrorists. But more than that, they are endorsing what Canada is saying. And I think it is time. Prime Minister Modi has invited Biden for the 26th January. Why? What for? If this is what the attitude of the US is, I think first the US should answer that how, from where you got this information and you fed to the Canadian intelligence offices. Therefore, what we are saying against and for Canada is absolutely true. I have no reservations on that. But why are we shying away from calling a cat a cat? And this is where I have some reservation on what Jaishankar has said. I think it is time. He is in the US. He would be meeting people. I am sure he is telling them in his own talks and discussions. But he should openly say that on what count the US is supporting Canada. We have not raised this question at all so far.
All right, absolutely. How about we take that question to Rabinder Sachdev, the foreign affairs expert with us on the panel. Sir, help us understand the question that Ambassador Muni is putting in front of all of us. The role and angle of the United States. You've been speaking about so many other vectors, of course, the Chinese vector also at play over there that many people are not talking about. But now we have intelligence sources that clearly link ISI funding to the Khalistani gangs and operations in Canada, but also what Ambassador Muni is talking about. You'll have to unmute yourself, sir. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Sorry, yeah.
Right.
Once again, thank you for the esteemed panel and with your on your show. Yeah, what Ambassador Muni is saying is something very, I think, very logical, very common sense. And I think if not now, but yes, India should be asking the US, but if not now, it's going to blow up in the coming weeks or months, as I think Aditya was also mentioning, because if we simply look at what's happening right now, the investigation by the Canadians is ongoing. In a few weeks' time, a month and a half, two, they will say, okay, we've completed our investigation with inputs from the US, as is being talked about. Okay, and then they'll put out their report. So either now, better maybe, as Ambassador Muni is saying, we should call out, we should at least, even in private, I think it must definitely be happening, but in public, that what is the intelligence that the US had that it has shared with Canada. Either we do it now, or by the way, when the report comes out, in any case, we'll be asking that then. That said, regarding the UN speech by Minister Jaishankar, I think he did a very smart, fair thing. You know, the UN podium that we had was those 10 or 15 minutes for an overall view of India, of the globe and the planet and the issues and the G20 Delhi Declaration. If you see, he mentioned the Delhi Declaration a couple of times. So what it has done, it has consolidated the outcomes of the Delhi Declaration as being an important facet of global thought, right? So in that platform, talking specifically about Canada would have been diluting, wasting our energy, getting distracted. So that's so my take is that in the UN, what Minister Jaishankar said was absolutely the right thing. Ignore the distraction of Canada. Look at the lofty ideals and the lofty values and thought leadership that India brings to the challenges of the world of today. Next point I'd like to make regarding ISI. Yeah, sure, you know, I mean, we got to watch out. In the coming weeks, again, I'm saying, in the coming weeks or a month or so, another Sikh extremist could be killed in Canada. Okay, it could be said that it was a gang war, or if the person had or was a known supporter of the Khalistani cause, it could again be said that was India was behind it. It will not be far-fetched to think, at least hypothetically, that the ISI could do this. Right? I mean, right now is the opportune time for them to do something like this and leave India's fingerprints on whatever they do, so that the blame comes back to India and the rift between Canada, India, the West and India, etc., grows. That's something to be looked ahead. I think we had one killing a few days ago, right? Sukhu, whoever was.
Right.
Well, that was a gang war apparently. But if in the next month or so another one such happens, things will get messy even more.
Certainly, certainly, a rocky road ahead. And, you know, in terms of that intelligence report, Aditya, it also talks about how there is not one but many separatist organizations in Canada. There's not just the one that's active, or it's the Khalistan Tiger Force, or it's the SJF. There's no one. There are several, many of them, and not all of them see each other eye to eye. But we've got RP Singh, who's the national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, with us on the broadcast. Sir, you know, how do you think India is going to deal with the growing Khalistani presence in Canada, the growing political support? Let's not forget Justin Trudeau's closest ally, Jagmeet Singh. He's openly supporting Khalistan.
Yes, it's well known that Jagmeet Singh is an open supporter of Khalistan, and his team members are also open supporter of Khalistan. Just recently, there's a video on social media where his brother-in-law was hitting one of the Hindus there and then abusing him of the foul language, saying that Gaumutra and all, that's all on record. But that point aside, if you have seen, even Jagmeet Singh has retraced back his steps after there was a pressure from the Hindu groups there, and after India has taken a tough stand. And I've just seen a statement where he has said that all Hindus can stay here, Hindus should stay here, they are equal citizens, and there's nothing against Hindus as such. But fact is that, yes, Justin Trudeau is under a political compulsion because he is in alliance with Jagmeet Singh's party, NDP, and an advantage, he's being rather untwisted, I have to say that, for their objectives. And then objectives, their links can be far away to ISI and China both, where both are trying to use this as a tool for their objectives and their advantage. But India's tough stand, India's clear stand is working now, because even diaspora has started distancing themselves from all these activities. I've been told yesterday's that protest had only 26 people there. There are friends of mine who I requested them to be there and help me out to do the head count. They sent me a figure of 26 of these Khalistanis. Probably message after the properties of the Khalistanis were seized there, and there were NIA raids on the financial conduit route used by the Khalistanis here. the message has gone to all such people there in Canada also, that you are the citizen there, but if you have roots here, and then government is going to ensure that it will reach to your roots and ensure that wherever they can tip you, they will try to tip you, whether it's through the financial part or whether it is through the other linkages of the family or the friends with such elements, because there's a clear indications that the money is being routed from India also, and then through the Hawala routes, and then money is being sent to such people. And there is a special, they use Gurdwara as a conduit to build up their resources, whether it's in Canada also, and then certain Gurdwaras here also. But since the crackdown is there, and the crackdown is helping to send a message across to all such elements, you better mend your ways, or we'll tighten your screws here.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, Aditya, a great word of confidence coming there from RP Singh that only 26 people attended that particular protest. But like I said, there is not the one separatist organization. A couple of them have their bases in Canada. But like RP Singh was talking about, the crackdown that's happening here at home, you know, aimed to curb the Hawala routes that are currently operational. Do you think the action that we've taken is swift? Because day after day, the number and the states in you know, the NIA's you know, spotlight and scanner, it's increasing. The names and the list, they're continuously increasing. So we are sort of like exuberating the right kind of confidence in Indians abroad.
Kabir, India's message is very clear that India is not going to look the other way when Canada peddles this kind of a soft separatism or support to terrorism or the Khalistanis. India's crackdown has not happened only in the last 1 week. India's crackdown has happened over years. We have sent dossiers, as I said, 26 of them to Canada on 26 Khalistani terrorists and gangsters who've been very active in Canada for years together. Hardeep Singh Nijjar was one of them. You know, I want to remind the Canadians time and again that before the Kanishk bombing as well, the Indian government had shared details about the Canadian terrorists who were active there, and this could result in mayhem and bloodshed. And that's what happened. There were over 270 to 280 Canadians who died in the Kanishka Air India bombing. And yet the Canadians did not learn any lessons. And how ironic, it was Trudeau's father, the Trudeau Senior, who was the Prime Minister at that time, and now Justin Trudeau is certainly going by his father's footsteps. And the Khalistani propaganda and terror has yet not ended, even though the Indian crackdown continues, because Canada is giving them a safe shelter continuously. In fact, Kabir, I'll tell you, just 2 hours back, I received 5 phone calls from a UK number. And this UK number had a recorded 2-minute message, and it issued a fresh threat against the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, against the Indian envoy to Canada, Sanjay Verma, and also said that the ICC World Cricket Cup that is scheduled to be held on 5th October will not be a World Cricket Cup, but it will be a World Terror Cup, and they will actually attack on the 5th of October in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. So the question right now is that while India is cracking down on the Khalistani terrorists, on their overground workers and their Pakistani connections, etc., what is Canada going to do about it? Is Justin Trudeau just going to be a mute spectator and succumb to the pressures of the Khalistani terrorists and his ally Jagmeet Singh? Or will Justin Trudeau actually walk the talk? Because remember, he's been globally isolated. In 2018, he had an embarrassing visit to India. In 2023, again during the G20, he had a very embarrassing visit because he wasn't given a bilateral. It was a pull aside. And then he was completely ignored by the media until his flight actually didn't take off. And there was technical fault and he couldn't leave. So there was embarrassment after embarrassment. And yet again, immediately after accusing India and not providing any kind of evidence, they actually saluted, gave a standing ovation and celebrated a Nazi war criminal from Ukraine against the Jewish genocide and Holocaust. How is this justified? And they actually make the Speaker of the House of Commons a scapegoat by asking him to resign. When will Justin Trudeau resign? For his incompetence, for being a joke, a butt of jokes all across the globe? Because I don't think the United States publicly wants to support Justin Trudeau because they have been iron brothers and closest of allies. The US has some kind of empathy for the Canadian Prime Minister. But otherwise, I think it's an embarrassment for the Canadian Prime Minister, and it's inevitable that he will have to react and do some kind of damage control.
What is the United States going to do and say? Well, we've got Matthew Miller's reaction on the India-Canada tension. Let's quickly take a look at that, and then we'll go across to Ambassador Muni over the radicalization of Indian students and students at Canadian universities. We'll talk about that just next, but what is the US going to do? It's a pertinent question. Take a look at this reaction coming across from Matthew Miller.
So I made comments on this yesterday. I can restate them here, which is that we are obviously quite concerned about the situation in Canada. We've cooperated closely with our Canadian counterparts, and we have urged India to cooperate in that investigation, and will continue to do so. And India remains an important partner of the United States. We work with them on a number of issues, but of course, on this matter, we urge them to cooperate with the Canadian investigation.
Well, so Ambassador Muni, your opinion on the reaction that you just heard from Matthew Miller, number one. It's the latest, opinion coming from the United States on the India-Canada standoff. And also, recruitment by the pro-Khalistan groups in Canada, sir. There is a bid to rope in students from Canadian universities into the program. Students who are not complying with the SFJ's agenda are particularly being targeted. And that's not more. There is divisive and inflammatory calls for Hindus to leave Canada in these campuses. So campus environment and life has completely been disrupted. And statements by pro-Khalistani fronts asserting that Canada, well, should be for the Sikhs. Ambassador Muni, over to you.
Well, I think this is, natural when this is how extremists work. And they look for support and cover everywhere else. So they will certainly like to rope in the innocent students by giving them incentives, by diverting their attention from one way or the other. This is a usual practice of the extremist, and I think they will do it. There is absolutely no doubt. The US official statement, which he has just now made, he says India is a great friend. Yes, India is a great friend, but then this is what you are doing about India. And I don't understand why there is no explanation. Now, if India is a great friend, the US intelligence part of a Five Eye, while sharing with the Canadians, why did not share or why does not share with us even now to tell us where we stand? And if they think they have any substantial issue to raise with us, they better raise it. Why this is punching going on through Canada and through Trudeau? Now, Trudeau will not do anything from what we say. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind. He will do something if the Americans tell him. If there is a word for him from the White House, he will do something. If there is a word for him from National Security of the US or State Department of the US, he will do it. So let's have no mistake. I mean, for the last 10 days, we have been talking Trudeau is not doing. No, he will not do it. He is not obliged to us. He has his own game plan. Besides, it was very rightly said that he has to look for his own existence and survival in politics because he is banking upon the support of the NDP, which is led by all the Khalistanis. So he has his own problems. That's why I said this is the time really to divert the real attention. As we were telling the Americans earlier, that terrorism is not in Afghanistan, the terrorism is in Pakistan. Similarly, now we must say that at the root of this is the US intelligence and US support to Canada. And I think India has a right to ask the US to explain why it is there. What is the substance of it? Thirdly, I think we have now raided some of the Khalistani ISI linkages, money which is going on, drug which is being connected. But let me raise this very small question. Did we have to wait till the assassination of Niger or his killing, whatever has happened, for doing all this? The national security should not have taken care of it much, much earlier.
Well, that is a pertinent point, isn't it? Rabindra Sachdev, I'm going to come to you next, but before that, ladies and gents, take a look at this. Our big show at 10 p.m. today, exclusive premiere, duologue with TV9's MD and CEO Barun Das in a candid conversation with the founder of the Isha Foundation and spiritual leader, Sadhguru.
How do you define success? And is success important?
Success is the only thing that's there in life.
So between happiness and success, which would you prioritize?
Happiness is also success, isn't it?
And then success leads you to happiness.
No.
Then
Why do you need happiness when you're successful?
how do you feel once you're successful? There's a feeling.
Yeah,
Happiness is an expression
I am
of your
already
feeling.
exuberant and blissed out.
An ordinary person like me.
You're a very special guy, you keep on saying I'm ordinary, I'm ordinary.
No, as I said, ordinary is extraordinary. So maybe somewhere in my mind the belief that I'm extraordinary.
Duologue with Barun Das featuring Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. World premiere on Connected TV. Tonight at 10, only on Newsline Live. India's first and only digital exclusive English news stream for Connected TV. Supported by Alliance Broadband.
Well, you can catch that exclusive tonight at 10 p.m. across the News 9 Live Mediaverse and our connected TVs and television. Meanwhile, shifting our focus back to the intelligence inputs vis-a-vis the India-Canada standoff. Joining us on the broadcast is Rabinder Sachdev, foreign affairs expert. Mr. Sachdev, if intel inputs are really to be believed, that the Khalistani groups and the Khalistani anti-India sentiment on the ground in Canada is actually beyond the control of the Trudeau government, then how big of a problem is it for us back at home here? Because we've got our trade ties with them, we've got our military ties with them, and well, we're part of some global platforms as well.
No, thank you. Great question, deep question. I do agree, actually, the Khalistani issue in Canada is partly beyond Trudeau. Trudeau could do something, but it is partly beyond him. But let's focus on what he could be doing, one. Secondly, this issue is a systemic issue in Canada. If we think that when Trudeau goes away, the entire, scenario would overnight change. No, sir. I think only yesterday or day before, I was listening to a speech by Tim Uppal, who's the deputy leader of the Conservative Party, that is the opposition right now. And he was saying virtually the same thing. So even if, and elections are 2 years away, maybe they can happen sooner, whatever it be. But the point is that it's a systemic issue, and Trudeau's going away will change some things, maybe, hopefully, but it will not go down to the root of the issue. One. Secondly, with regards to America and what could America do? Yes, okay, let's imagine a scenario. This report in a month or 6 weeks, whenever the Canadians will come out with a report, right? And wherein they'll say, okay, to this degree of certainty, we do think that Indian agents carried this out, this activity, and India has not cooperated with us, so therefore we can only say with 90%, but as per us, the investigation is completed. What will Canada do? What will US do? One thing that they could do, just imagining the scenario in such situations is sanction the people. Now, would Canada sanction some folks in India, and who? Would US, as Ambassador Mooney is very rightfully pointing out, what would the US do? I mean, there could be a range of options. We don't know what these nations could do, or there is no standard quote-unquote toolkit for such situations. But there are some things that we've seen in the past which have happened. And one of the tools which is used by the US is to sanction individuals. Okay, and sanction and then beyond even, label them as XYZ criminals or whatever, I don't know. Okay. So one of the things that we could anticipate could be sanctioning of some, and then in that case, who? In India, right? And then does it go up, up, up? Where does it end, sir? It's going to turn ugly. So therefore, the best thing, sensible thing, I think right now is that immediately this matter should be dialed down in the interest of all parties involved.
No, you're absolutely right, Mr. Sachdev, because you know what? De-escalation and reconciliation is something that nobody is talking about. I mean, we have a study of what kind of hashtags are trending on the social media, and they have hashtag Hardeep Singh Nijjar, hashtag Pannu, hashtag Khalistan, hashtag terror. Posts about terrorism have gone up by more than 500%. Just in the last fortnight. R.P. Singh, national spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, with us on the broadcast. Sir, I'm sure you're in touch with a lot of Indian diaspora in Canada, not just Sikhs. And right at the outset, let's just tell everybody that not all Sikhs are pro-Khalistani supporters. I mean, that's not the idea that we want to put across. But in terms of the people that you're in touch with, the Indian diaspora, the Sikhs in Canada, social media, like I was suggesting, has been playing a significant role in these discussions related to Khalistan. I'm sure it's a dinner table conversation over there. How do you see the influence of social media? How is the Indian diaspora and the Sikh community that do not comply with the agenda of the pro-Khalistan notion, how are they treading carefully on the social media?
First, let me turn around your saying that all Sikhs are not Khalistani. Khalistanis are not Sikhs. Let's be very clear, these.
All right, absolutely, sir. Let's put it that way.
All these whom you are saying Khalistani, they are not Sikhs. No Khalistani can be a Sikh. And Pannu, at least Pannu is not a Sikh at all. I mean, neither he is from the appearance, that's called Sarup in our terminology. Neither I seriously doubt whether he has read any text from Shri Guru Granth Sahib, because had he read the text from Shri Guru Granth Sahib, then he would not ask people to write Hindustan Murdabad as a slogan, because Hindustan Shabd first time ever appeared in any Granth was Shri Guru Granth Sahib. In Guru Granth Sahib, Hindustan word was used by Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji when he referred to Babar's attack on India, and then the last word which he says, Hindustan Samalsi Bola and Hindustan Daraya. So terminology as Hindustan has been used. So I seriously doubt that he has ever read any Granth, or even for that regard, he ever recited the basic Mool Mantra or Japji Sahib ever. But that point aside, let's understand, this is a long war. It has been on, and now India has taken a firm stand that it can't continue. We can't allow Khalistani elements to take a free ride here, and if they do activities which are against the Indian ethos, or which disturbs the Indian harmony here, then they have to be taken to task. Amritpal is the best case for that. To put an example, that he was being supported by ISI, we all know, and then government took a firm stand, and now no one's talk about it. I'll appreciate the Indian court should also divulge into this, and because the reason is all these guys who are protesters of Khalistan, who protest on behalf of Khalistan, they say that Indian courts have mentioned that taking name of Khalistan or protesting on name of Khalistan is not anti-India, because if not followed by the violence, and this is 95-96, if I remember, judgment of the Supreme Court, and I'm hopeful the judiciary will look into this matter and ensure that they'll rectify the judgment and not give these lumpen handle, judicial handle to use Khalistan as a word or Khalistan as a ideology to propagate that thing. Let me add one thing more here. If you know who was the first person who started Khalistan movement, Aditya would know. His name was Jagjit Singh Chauhan. And then Jagjit Singh Chauhan was the one who started the Khalistani currency, Khalistani flag, and he got even Khalistani passport, and he got Khalistan recognized by probably Venezuela.
Well, it seems like, sir, we're having some technical difficulties with your audio. RP Singh, we're going to quickly come back to you. All right, you are in fact back with us, sir. Do go on with finish your thoughts, please.
So Jagjit Singh Chauhan finally came to India. In his last days, he came to India, and then he acknowledged the integrity of India, and he said this Khalistan Bogi is false. I remember he formed his party here named Khalsa Raj Party, and probably contested election in 2005 or 2007. One of these years, he contested election, and he died a peaceful death. So was the Ripudaman Singh Malik, the partner of Nijjar, who was killed last year. He also took a U-turn, and he came to India, and he appreciated the Indian culture and everything. And he said that Khalistan is a false bogie, and probably that is the reason that he was killed. And then there are allegations, so-called allegations, that Nijjar was killed by the people who were close to Ripudaman Singh Malik. So there is it's not a gang war, but it's a war going on between two ideologies also. That person who stays within their fold is good. Once he goes out of fold, then they don't allow him to even live. And then the man was killed. And Ripudaman Singh was a philanthropist. He is the same guy. He turned into a philanthropist. He was the same guy who was involved in the Kanishka bomb case also. So there are a lot of things which are happening at the back end. But I have to finally say one thing. Canada should remember one thing, that if you have snakes at your backyard, ultimately they are going to come and bite you. There can be never a Khalistan in India, but yes, there can be Khalistan in Brampton or any other part of the Canada.
And it's even problematic that even when you have snakes, in your own backyard, you're worried about extremely trivial things right at the periphery. The Canadian envoy has raised concerns about foreign interferences and rules at the United Nations. Let's listen into what Robert Ray had to say, and then we'll ask Ambassador Muni for his opinion on the same.
At the same time, as we put great emphasis on the importance of equality, we also have to uphold the values of free and democratic societies. We cannot bend the rules of state-to-state relations for political expediency, because we've seen and continue to see the extent to which democracies are under threat through various means of foreign interference. But the truth is, if we don't adhere to the rules that we've agreed to, the very fabric of our open and of our free societies may start to tear.
Well, now, Ambassador Muni, just to reiterate what the Canadian envoy essentially said, Robert Ray, during his address to the world leaders at the UN General Assembly, raised the issue of foreign interference, adding that rules of state-to-state relations cannot be bent for political expediency. I mean, are we looking towards a situation where, even an excuse saying that this is being done for political convenience is a face saver, actually, because they themselves don't know what's essentially happening back at home on their own soil?
No, that's very clear that the political issue is dominant behind whatever Trudeau has been talking about. We have all discussed this again and again. Now, his indication, I don't know whether it is in the context of what is happening in Canada or anywhere else. Nobody in India is doing it for this issue, is not for domestic purpose. In fact, India has been trying to have best of the relations with Canada and the US. And we have been repeatedly telling them that, look, you stop this business of promoting or protecting these extremists in one way or the other. They are the ones who have not listened to us. So the domestic politics is not in India, if at all. It is rightly there in Canada. All right
then. You know what, gentlemen, Ambassador Muni, RP Singh, Mr. Sachdev, many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs. We're going to keep coming back to you because, like Mr. Sachdev said, where is it going to finally stop? We don't know, and the road certainly, it seems like, is going to get ugly. Even as we wrap this up, Aditya, very quickly, because we're at a positive time. Why is nobody talking about reconciliation? Why is nobody talking about dialing down and de-escalation? Isn't that equally important as well?
It is important, but for India, important is to counter terror. India does not stand for terrorism in any way or separatism in any way. For Canada, it is diplomatic, it is political compulsions domestically. I don't know, will they choose international rules-based order or will they choose, terrorism to act as per their foreign policy? Because if the Canadians choose to back terrorism and secession against India, then certainly Canada is becoming the new Pakistan of the West, and nobody is going to stop that.
And we have seen it time and again how the West starts backing the West, and it weaponizes human rights, especially against India. So this time around, it seems like India is not backing down. Well, all right, on that note, many thanks, Aditya, for joining with us on this occasion. We will continue to bring you all the insights and inputs when it comes to the India-Canada standoff, but that's all the time we have for you. This is Kaveen Naqvi signing off. Lots more coming right on the other side. Don't go anywhere.
How do you define success? And is success important?
Success is the only thing that's there in life.
So between happiness and success, which would you prioritize?
Happiness is also success, isn't it?
And then success leads you to happiness?
No.
Then?
Why do you need happiness when you're successful?
How do you feel once you're successful? There's a feeling. Happiness is an expression of your
already feeling. Exuberant and blissed out.
An ordinary person like me.
You're a very special guy. You keep on saying, I'm ordinary, I'm ordinary.
No, as I said, ordinary is extraordinary. So maybe somewhere in my mind, the belief that I'm extraordinary.
Duologue with Barun Das featuring Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. World premiere on Connected TV. Tonight at 10. Only on Newsline Live. India's first and only digital exclusive English news stream for Connected TV. Supported by Alliance Broadband.
साथियों, आज के अखबारों में सेंट्रल बैंक डिजिटल करेंसी की भी काफी चर्चा है। इससे डिजिटल इकोनॉमी को बहुत बल मिलेगा।
Introduction of a central bank digital currency will give a big boost to digital economy.
डिजिटल पेमेंट, ऑनलाइन पेमेंट, रिटेल पेमेंट ज्यादा सुरक्षित होगा